there, you're here with Homestaying with Blue Sky Ranch. Today, I want to talk to you about sourdough. And it's the holiday time of year, and if you're like me, you're thinking about sourdough everything. So Thanksgiving's coming, so we've got sourdough bread that we'll be making. We'll be making a rosemary loaf. We've got cranberry loaves coming up. We want to share with our friends, our family, give them sourdough starter. So I'm going to talk with you today about how to keep your sourdough alive during the cold season. So this is going to be a pretty short and sweet video. There's not a lot to this, but there's some tricks that I've learned living in a very chilly house. Most of the time we heat solidly with wood, or if we're not, we're using our furnace, and then we're keeping it a little on the low side to keep the bills down. So how do I keep my sourdough alive when my house is like between 65 and 68 degrees, and depending on which room you're in, it could be even colder. So I'm going to share with you some of my favorite tricks. So one of my favorite tricks is using beanbag filled, they're little beanbag filled things to heat around your neck. I have another one you can put on your lap. I think this one's filled with beans. This one I think is filled with rice. These are amazing. So let me show you how I use these to keep my sourdough happy and growing. So first what you're gonna wanna do is throw these in the microwave, and I usually throw these in the microwave for about 3 minutes each. So just throw your rice bag or your bean bag. Usually there's some instructions if you buy one of these, or you can make them yourself with some fabric and throw some beans in there or some rice, but I throw mine in and let it go for about 3 minutes. Next, what you want to do is find either a nice big bowl, or I just use my cast iron pan that I bake my loaf in, seeing as it's available. And I take my bean bag. First of all, I put my jar into the pan. I put my jar in the center of the pan. Then I take my bean bag and I wrap it all the way around and tuck it in all around, just like that. Next, I'm going to show you what I do where I store this. So this is my favorite and least expensive trick that I use all winter long to keep my sourdough thriving and alive and growing. I use the oven light. So next, what I do after the beanbag is warm, and you actually could even heat up your cast iron a little bit too if you wanted to, but I put it in here next to the oven light. Now what you don't want to have happen is someone to come and turn on the oven, and that would be really scary. So my sourdough's name is, this will be backwards, but its name is Frodo. And so I always put a sign on my oven that Frodo is in the oven. Please don't cook him. So make sure you post a sign on your oven. Mine says Frodo is in the oven, leaving your oven light on. So make sure you come up here, turn your oven light to on, which I've done, and just leave it in there. Sweet and simple. So this works out really great, and I do this all winter long. About once a day, I will go ahead and heat up this bean bag, and I will throw it back around my Frodo and keep him in the oven. You can also use this method to raise your bread. I put the bowl right into the cast iron, but I will use this bean bag. I set it on the bottom, put my bowl on top, just like that, and then I'll cover it with a big towel or a blanket to keep it warm. There's some other ideas, so if you don't want to use your oven light, you're afraid that you might cook your sourdough in there, there's a couple other ideas for you. You could also use your heat register. If you don't have pets or kids that are gonna get into it, you could put this right on top of a heat register, put a nice warm wool blanket or a big fluffy towel over top of it. You could use your hot water tank. You could use your clothes dryer, anything to keep them warm. But I really like the oven light because it's consistent, it's always on. And we've checked the temperature in there and it's just slightly warmer than my house, so it will stay around 70 degrees just with the oven light and with the door not being opened. And if you do use your oven, make sure you take your sourdough out and make sure it gets down to no more than 200 degrees before you put this back into your oven. You can also do that if you want to preheat your cast iron skillet when you're going to rise your bread and just leave it on the counter and put your bread in the bowl. As long as this isn't more than 200, it'll help your bread rise. So there's some really simple tricks out there for winter time sourdough starter growing. And because sitting on the counter, mine will do pretty much nothing here once it hits the teens outside and our house is a little cooler. The kitchen's always really cool in here because we have tile floors and it sucks the heat out first of all, and the countertops. So just sitting this on a cold counter doesn't necessarily work really great. So I hope you enjoyed my simple tricks to keep your sourdough growing in the cold winter weather. And like always, I hope you like, share, and subscribe. And if you have some ideas you'd like to share, please leave in the comments below. Anyway, like, share, and subscribe. See you next time.